Imagine how amazing it would be if you could control your emotions as if you had a remote in your hands. Imagine being able to decide when to get angry and when to stay calm. How often have you let emotions take over, ruining your plans and relationships? Have you ever thought that your emotions could be your best friend or your worst enemy? If you want to learn how to manage your emotions and prevent them from destroying your life, then this video is for you. Today, going to talk about a philosophy that has been helping people maintain inner peace and achieve their goals for thousands of years. Stoicism is not just ancient wisdom, it's a real tool for managing your emotions at any stage of life. Stay with us, and you'll learn how to use Stoicism to control your emotions and become the master of your life. For a long time, people have been searching for ways to deal with life's difficulties, to avoid letting emotions take over their minds and destroy everything they built. And then, imagine, in ancient Rome and Greece, a philosophy emerged that offered solutions to these questions. Stoicism, a philosophy that teaches us to see the world as it is, to accept its reality, and to use it to our advantage. The main idea of Stoicism is the concept of inner peace and tranquility, which depends solely on ourselves, and not on external circumstances. This philosophy took shape around 2,000 years ago, but it's still relevant today. Imagine being able to stay calm even in the most challenging situations. Imagine that nothing external can knock you off balance because you know how to manage your emotions. Stoics believe that everything that happens in our world doesn't matter unless we give it meaning. And these aren't just words. It's practical wisdom that can be applied in everyday life. One of the key concepts in Stoicism is the idea of the dichotomy of control. This means that in life, there are things we can control and things we cannot control. Stoics teach us to focus only on what is within our power and not to waste energy on what we cannot change. For example, we can't control the weather, but we can control our reaction to it. We can't control the behavior of others, but we can manage our emotions and reactions to their actions. Stoics claim that our happiness and inner peace depend only on ourselves. Therefore, the first step towards managing your emotions is understanding that you can control your thoughts and reactions. For instance, if someone says something hurtful, you can either get angry or stay calm and analyze the situation. It's important to remember that emotions are the result of our thoughts. If we change our thoughts, our emotional state will also change. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoics, said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." This means that our thoughts shape our reality. If we believe that the world is unfair and the people around us are enemies, we'll constantly be in a state of stress and dissatisfaction. But if we accept the world as it is and seek positive moments in every situation, we can maintain inner peace and joy, regardless of external circumstances. Here's an example from life. Imagine you're late for an important meeting because of traffic. You could get angry, blame everyone around you, but that won't change the situation. Instead, a Stoic would accept the fact of being late as a given and focus on what they can do in the current situation. Maybe they'll use the time in traffic to listen to an audiobook or think about how best to explain their lateness. In this way, instead of wasting energy on emotions, they use it for productive actions. Another important principle of Stoicism is accepting the inevitable. Stoics believe that many things in life are simply beyond our control. We cannot change the past, predict the future, or control everything that happens around us. But what can we do? We can accept these things as they are and learn to live with them. This doesn't mean we should be passive and do nothing. It means we should focus on what we can do right now, in this moment, and accept everything else. Imagine a situation where you lose your job. This can be an incredibly tough blow to your self-esteem and finances. But what would a Stoic say in such a situation? They would remind you that losing a job is not the end of the world, but just one event in your life. This event has already happened, and you cannot change it. But you can change your attitude towards it. Instead of falling into despair, a Stoic would advise you to view the situation as an opportunity. Perhaps it's a chance to find a job that better suits your interests and abilities. Or maybe it's an opportunity to start your own business. By changing how you perceive the situation, you can turn what seems like a disaster into a stepping stone towards something greater. Another powerful teaching in Stoicism is the concept of memento mori, which translates to remember that you will die. While this might sound grim, it's actually a reminder that our time is limited and every moment is precious. Understanding this helps us to not get caught up in trivial matters and not allow negative emotions to poison our lives. It encourages us to live mindfully, to appreciate every moment, and not to waste time on things that don't truly matter. When it comes to managing emotions, it's important to note that Stoics don't advocate for repressing your feelings. They don't suggest that we should be emotionless robots. On the contrary, Stoics teach us to acknowledge our emotions, understand their source, and decide how to respond to them. For example, if you feel anger, it's important to ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? What exactly is triggering this anger? And what can I do to address the cause of this feeling, rather than simply giving into it? Stoics also encourage practicing mindfulness. This means being aware of your thoughts and emotions, not letting them catch you off guard. When you realize that you're starting to experience negative emotions, you can pause, take a moment, and think about how best to respond. This may be challenging at first, but with practice, it becomes easier. It's crucial to understand that emotions are just signals from our body and mind, and we can choose how to react to them. Here's a modern-day example. Imagine you're involved in an online argument. Someone writes something offensive or unfair to you. Your initial reaction might be to respond in kind and escalate the conflict. But if you practice Stoicism, you would stop and think, is it worth spending your energy on this argument? Will it bring me any benefit? Often, the answer will be no. In that case, you might simply ignore the situation or respond calmly and composedly, preserving your inner balance. Another key aspect of Stoicism is the development of virtues. Stoics believe that virtues such as wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance are the foundation of a happy and fulfilling life. These virtues help us make the right decisions, manage our emotions, and build harmonious relationships with others. For example, if you're facing difficulties, courage will help you not to give up, and wisdom will guide you on how best to handle the situation. Justice will help you treat others with respect, and temperance will help you avoid excesses and extremes. In practice, this might look like this. Imagine you have a strong desire to buy something you don't really need. You feel that this purchase will bring you temporary pleasure, but then you remember the virtue of temperance. You ask yourself, do I really need this? Will this purchase bring long-term satisfaction? Or is it just a fleeting desire? Perhaps the answer is no, and you decide to postpone the purchase or avoid it altogether. In this way, you avoid unnecessary spending and learn to control your desires rather than letting them control you. The wisdom that Stoics promote helps us make conscious decisions. For example, if you're facing a conflict at work, wisdom will tell you that it's important not just to win the argument, but to find a solution that benefits everyone involved. Instead of giving into emotions and striving for victory at all costs, you'll be able to look at the situation from different angles and find a compromise that leads to the best outcome for all parties. Courage, as a virtue, helps us overcome fears and take action even when we face difficulties or setbacks. This doesn't mean that Stoics don't experience fear. They just don't let fear control their lives. For example, if you're afraid of public speaking, Stoicism wouldn't suggest avoiding it. Instead, it would help you recognize that fear is a natural reaction, but it shouldn't stop you. You can use that fear as motivation to prepare and improve your skills, and then perform despite your apprehensions. Justice helps us maintain honesty and respect in our relationships with others. Stoics believe that we should strive for justice, not only in relation to others, but also in relation to ourselves. This means being honest with ourselves, acknowledging our mistakes, and striving for personal growth. For example, if you realize that you've acted wrongly in a situation, it's important to acknowledge it and try to correct your mistake rather than justifying your actions. Stoicism also teaches us to be grateful for what we have instead of constantly striving for what we lack. In today's world, where we are constantly surrounded by advertisements and social media, it's easy to fall into the trap of always wanting more. We see others sharing their successes and achievements, and we start to feel like we're missing something. But Stoicism teaches us to appreciate what we already have and to find joy in simple things. For example, if you feel envy towards someone else's achievements, a Stoic would encourage you to think about what you've already accomplished. Perhaps you have good health, the support of family and friends, or you're engaged in work that you truly enjoy. All of these are reasons to be grateful. Instead of focusing on what you don't have, Stoicism teaches us to value what we do have and to find satisfaction in it. Another important practice in Stoicism is daily reflection. Stoics recommended taking time each day to reflect on the day that has passed, to analyze your actions and emotions. This helps you approach life more consciously and learn from your mistakes. For example, before bed, you might ask yourself a few questions. What did I do well today? What could I have done better? What emotions did I experience? And how did I respond to them? This daily reflection helps develop self-awareness and better control over your emotions. It's also important to understand that Stoicism is not a magic wand that will immediately solve all your problems. It's a path that requires time and practice. But the more you practice, the easier it becomes to manage your emotions and maintain inner peace in any situation. This is a process where consistency and mindfulness are key. Stoicism doesn't offer easy solutions, but it provides tools that help us live more meaningfully and happily. Here's an example from life. Imagine you lost an important contract at work. This can be a real blow, and a natural reaction would be disappointment or even despair. However, a Stoic would look at the situation differently. They would acknowledge their emotions, but then consider what can be learned from the situation. Maybe this loss is an opportunity to review your work methods, improve your skills, or find a new, more promising contract. Instead of dwelling on the failure, Stoic uses it as an opportunity for growth. This doesn't mean you should ignore your feelings instead. They should be recognized and understood. But it's important not to let negative emotions take control and prevent you from moving forward. Stoicism also teaches us to be tolerant towards others. We all make mistakes, and no one is perfect. When someone behaves aggressively or unfairly towards you, a Stoic would remind you that this person may be going through difficulties or simply succumbing to their own emotions. Instead of responding to aggression with aggression, a Stoic would try to understand what's behind this person's behavior and respond with understanding and compassion. This doesn't mean allowing others to take advantage of you, but it helps avoid unnecessary conflicts and maintain inner peace. Stoics also emphasize the importance of physical and mental discipline. They believe that the body and mind are interconnected, and taking care of your health helps maintain emotional balance as well. For example, regular physical exercise, healthy eating, and sufficient sleep all contribute to making you feel better physically, which in turn improves your emotional state. Mental discipline includes practices like mindfulness, meditation, and reflection, which help you control your thoughts and emotions. One of the most powerful tools in Stoicism is the technique of anticipating difficulties, known as premeditatio malorum or premeditation of evils. This practice involves imagining potential difficulties or failures that may arise in the future and preparing for them in advance. This doesn't mean you should expect the worst, but it helps you be prepared for various scenarios and not be caught off guard. For example, before an important meeting, you might imagine that something could go wrong and think in advance about how you will respond to that situation. This technique helps reduce fear of the unknown and gives you a sense of control over the situation. When difficulties do arise, you're already prepared for them, and they don't seem as daunting. This reduces stress levels and helps you stay calm in the most challenging situations. For instance, if you're preparing for an exam, you might imagine the questions being harder than you expected, and think about how you'll handle it. If that scenario does happen, you'll be ready, and this will help you avoid panic. Stoicism also teaches us not to attach ourselves to material things. In today's world, many people measure their happiness by the number of things they own. But Stoics believe that true happiness doesn't depend on external factors. They taught that material things are temporary and unreliable sources of pleasure, and that real joy comes from within, from the awareness of your virtues and control over your emotions. For example, if you lose something valuable, a Stoic would remind you that it's just an object and that your happiness shouldn't depend on it. Instead of mourning the loss, a Stoic would encourage you to focus on what truly matters: your relationships, personal growth, and inner peace. This doesn't mean you should completely reject material possessions, but it's important to remember that they are not the source of true happiness. Stoics also advocated for practicing voluntary simplicity to remind themselves that it's possible to live happily without excess. For instance, they might deliberately limit their food or clothing to learn to appreciate what they have and not become dependent on material wealth. This practice teaches us to be grateful for what we already have and to understand that happiness doesn't come from accumulating things, but from finding joy in the simple, everyday moments of life. Stoicism also teaches us to accept change as an inevitable part of life. Everything in this world is subject to change. Our relationships, our health, and our material circumstances. Stoics believe that resisting change only increases suffering. Instead, they advocated for embracing changes with an open heart and seeing them as opportunities for growth and development. This doesn't mean that you should passively accept everything that happens. On the contrary, it means that you should be flexible and ready to adapt to new circumstances. For example, if you lose your job, a Stoic would suggest seeing this not as an end, but as the beginning of a new chapter. Perhaps it's an opportunity to find a more interesting job, develop new skills, or even change your career path. Accepting change helps reduce stress and maintain inner balance in any situation. It's important to remember that change is an integral part of life, and the sooner we learn to accept it, the easier it will be to deal with difficulties. Stoics also emphasize the importance of social duty and caring for others. They believe that every person is part of a larger community and that we should strive to make the world around us better. This includes not only caring for loved ones, but also participating in public life, helping those in need, and striving for justice. Such an attitude helps us feel useful and significant, which in turn improves our emotional well-being. When you help others, you not only improve their lives but also strengthen your own sense of happiness and fulfillment. This can be something simple like volunteering, helping a neighbor, or supporting a friend in a difficult moment. Stoics believe that giving is one of the best ways to achieve inner peace and harmony. When we focus on bringing value to others, our own problems seem less significant, and we begin to see the world in a more positive light. One of the key practices in Stoicism is meditation on mortality. Memento mori, remember that you will die, is a reminder that our lives are finite. Realizing this fact helps us to value each moment and not put off important things until later. This doesn't mean living in constant fear of death. On the contrary, it helps us understand that time is our most valuable resource. When we realize that time is limited, we begin to approach how we use it more consciously. For example, if you're constantly putting off your dreams and goals for later, the realization of mortality will help you understand that later may never come. This pushes us to take action here and now, to live life to the fullest, without postponing happiness for an uncertain future. Stoics believe that every day should be lived as if it could be the last, and this helps us avoid regrets later on. Stoicism also helps us overcome the fear of failure. In life, we all face setbacks, but Stoics taught that failures are not the end, but a part of the journey to success. They help us learn, grow, and become stronger. It's important not to fear making mistakes, but to see every failure as a lesson. Stoics believe that every setback is an opportunity to become better and wiser. Instead of avoiding risk, they advocated accepting mistakes as an inherent part of life and using them for personal growth. For example, if you failed in a project, A Stoic would suggest analyzing what went wrong and what you can do better next time. Instead of dwelling on the failure, they would encourage you to view it as a learning experience and an opportunity for improvement. This mindset helps you avoid feeling helpless and instead focus on how you can benefit from your experience. Stoicism also teaches us to remain calm in moments when we face things we can't change. Often in life, events occur that are beyond our control: illnesses, losses, unforeseen circumstances. Stoics believe that in such situations, it's important to maintain our inner calm and accept reality as it is. This doesn't mean being indifferent or passive, but rather directing our energy towards what we can truly influence and not wasting it on futile worries. For example, if you're facing health issues, a Stoic would suggest accepting this as a fact and focusing on what you can do to improve your situation. Instead of spending time on self-pity or fear of the future, they would encourage you to focus on actions that can help your body, like adopting a healthier lifestyle or seeking the right medical care. This approach helps maintain inner peace and channels your efforts into productive actions. Stoicism also teaches us not to become overly attached to external achievements and recognition. In modern society, people often measure their worth by external standards: career success, material wealth, or the approval of others. However, Stoics reminded us that all these things are transient and not entirely within our control. They taught that the real value of a person lies not in what they possess or how others perceive them, but in their inner state, virtues, and ability to control their emotions. For instance, if you've achieved success in your career, a Stoic would advise against becoming overly fixated on it or letting external success define your self-worth. After all, success can be temporary, and if you build your self-esteem solely on that, you'll constantly depend on external factors. Instead, a Stoic would encourage you to focus on developing your inner qualities such as wisdom, justice, and self-control, which will serve as a foundation for your well-being, regardless of external circumstances. Stoicism also helps us manage anger and frustration. Life often presents us with situations that trigger strong emotions, like anger or disappointment. Stoics taught that we can control these emotions by understanding their nature and not allowing them to take over. They reminded us that anger is not the result of external events, but our reaction to them. If we change our attitude towards a situation, we can avoid destructive emotions. For example, if someone has treated you unfairly, a Stoic would suggest not giving into anger, but rather trying to understand why that person acted that way. Perhaps they are going through difficulties, or simply don't fully understand the consequences of their actions. Instead of responding to aggression with aggression, a Stoic would encourage you to react with understanding and calmness. This not only helps you maintain your inner peace, but also creates an environment for resolving the issue constructively. Stoics also emphasize the importance of living in the present moment. In today's fast-paced world, we often get caught up in the past or worry about the future, forgetting that the only moment we truly have is now. Stoics taught that we should appreciate each moment of life and not waste it on useless regrets or fears. For example, if you find yourself worrying about what might happen in the future, a Stoic would encourage you to focus on what you can do right now to prepare for that event. Instead of being consumed by anxiety about what could happen, they would urge you to ask yourself, what can I do at this moment to improve my situation? This approach helps direct your energy towards concrete actions that can actually impact your future, rather than wasting it on worry. By living in the present moment, you not only reduce stress, but also become more productive and focused. Stoicism also teaches us to find joy in simple things. In a world where we are constantly bombarded with stimuli, and where happiness is often associated with something grand and external, Stoics remind us that true happiness can be found in the simplest of things. This could be a morning cup of coffee, a walk in the park, a conversation with a friend, or just a moment of silence where you can reflect and rest. Stoics believe that these moments are the real sources of joy and fulfillment. For example, if you're feeling overwhelmed or tired, a Stoic would suggest taking a pause and simply enjoying the present moment. It could be something as simple as watching the sunset or reading a book you love. These moments help us recharge and remind us that happiness doesn't have to be tied to something grand or material. It can be found in the simple, everyday pleasures that we often take for granted. Stoicism also teaches us to be less dependent on the opinions of others. In today's world, people often seek approval and recognition from others, which can become a source of stress and anxiety. Stoics, however, taught that it's important to make decisions based on your own internal principles and values, rather than out of fear of what others might think. This doesn't mean ignoring the opinions of others, but it's crucial to remember that their opinions shouldn't dictate your well-being or self-esteem. For example, if you are feeling overwhelmed or tired, a Stoic would suggest that you pause and just enjoy the present moment. This could be something very simple, like watching the sunset or reading your favorite book. These moments help us recharge and remind ourselves that happiness doesn't have to be tied to something grandiose or material. It can be found in the simple, everyday joys we often take for granted. Stoicism also teaches us to be less dependent on the opinions of others. In today's world, people often seek approval and recognition from others, and this can be a source of stress and anxiety. The Stoics, on the other hand, taught that it is important to make decisions based on one's inner principles and values, not because of fear of what others will think. This doesn't mean that you should ignore the opinions of others, but it's important to remember that their opinions shouldn't determine your well-being or self-esteem. For example, if you faced criticism or disapproval, a Stoic would suggest that you not take it personally. Instead, he would suggest that you ask yourself, is this criticism consistent with my inner values and beliefs? If so, what can I change about myself to become a better person? If not, should I even bother with it? This attitude helps you maintain inner peace and self-confidence, regardless of what others say or think. Stoicism also reminds us of the importance of gratitude. In the hustle and bustle of everyday life, we often forget to be grateful for what we have. Stoics taught that the regular practice of gratitude helps us see the positive aspects of life and increases our sense of happiness and fulfillment. Gratitude is not just a courtesy, but a conscious choice to see the good in each day and be grateful for what we have. For example, you might take a few minutes each day to think about what you are grateful for. It could be simple things like your health, the support of loved ones, the opportunity to do something you love, or just another day gone by. This practice helps us focus on the positive aspects of life and reduces stress and anxiety levels. Stoicism also teaches us to be patient and not to jump to conclusions. In today's world, where everything happens quickly, it is easy to fall into the trap of impatience and the desire for instant results. However, the Stoics reminded us that everything in life has its time, and that sometimes we should just let things unfold naturally. For example, if you are working on a long-term project, a Stoic would suggest that you not rush the results, but focus on the process. He would remind you that it is not only the end result that matters, but also the journey we take to get there. Patience helps us stay calm and not get frustrated if something doesn't work out right away. In conclusion, Stoicism is a powerful tool for managing emotions and creating inner peace. It is a philosophy that teaches us to control our thoughts, not to let external circumstances dictate our state of mind, and to find happiness in simple, everyday things. Stoicism helps us not only to cope with difficulties, but also to develop virtues that make us better and stronger every day. It is not just a set of theoretical knowledge, but a practical guide that you can apply in real life to become a more stable, honest, and happy person. When you begin to apply the principles of Stoicism, you will notice how your perception of the world changes. External circumstances no longer determine your mood or influence your decisions. You learn to focus on what is within your power and let go of what is beyond your control. This gives you a sense of inner freedom and confidence. helps you avoid stress and keep your balance in all situations. Stoicism teaches us to be grateful for each day, to see every problem as an opportunity for growth, and to not be afraid of change. It is a philosophy that helps us to be the best version of ourselves, despite external circumstances. By applying Stoic principles, you will not only be able to cope with challenges, but also enjoy life, finding joy in every moment and fulfillment in who you are becoming. So, if you want to learn how to manage your emotions, not let them ruin your life, and become the master of your destiny, start applying Stoicism today. It's not a magic solution, but with practice, you'll see your life change for the better. After all, to be a Stoic is to be a strong, wise, and calm person who is able to maintain inner peace, no matter what. If this topic interests you and you want to learn more about how Stoicism can help you in your daily life, subscribe to our channel, give us a like, and share your thoughts in the comments. If we get 5,000 likes, I'll make the next video on how to figure out your financial code with numerology and use it to achieve success. Don't miss the chance to become the best version of yourself. Together, we can achieve a lot.